In my opinion, the world could become less and less polluted and look like something very modern with fully electric cars, which would avoid using gasoline, which is very bad for your health. I would like to believe that cars will fly one day. I also think that technology will be very present in the future because, on the one hand, it is really practical. I imagine electric and autonomous public transport, the disappearance of plastic, which will be replaced by paper or fabric.
I live in a large loft and 2 floors with a wonderful view. My bay window overlooks that building. The coating of that building I followed with different plants. Each building roof has vegetable garden and solar panels that provide all the necessary electricity. So that there isn't only natural electricity. From the roof of the building, ivy descends all along the wall. Its plants are used to cool the apartment and reduce air conditioning. In the city, in every corner of neighborhoods, are carpooling space available with electric cars loaned by the city. To promote walking, train means are available in the street to take you from one point to another. This system limits car trip and helps reduce pollution. All public transport is free and all use the same functionality electric motors. Thanks to their electric motors, there will be less pollution and therefore it will slow down global warming. In the city, there is a lot of greenery, trees, bushes, flowers, and fountains with drinking water. To respect the environment, all companies and school canteens promote organic food and are respectful of animals, so more vegetarian food. There will also be fewer open food stores and more marketing with healthy food, because it's better for your body. All along river will start from the center of town and go from an end to other. And finally, my future city will surely not be like today's.
I will therefore compare Paris in the current time and what I envisions for Paris in 2050. For me, Paris in 2050 will be a big city with less pollution than currently. I hope life would be more easier and more enjoyable than 2020 because we are all hoping for better years. The building of my future city will have particular shapes with a lot of windows and will be white because this color keeps the freshness of the room, which will be good because the temperature of the earth will have increased because of the global warming. So it will be hot. And I like the white. On the roof of the building, there will be many solar panels to create their own energy, and it's gonna be really sufficient for the inhabitants who live here. I would be love for there to be vegetation everywhere, like trees on the buildings. That would be really great. I hope everyone will have a home, a family, and will be happy because it's important that people feel good in this city. I hope that there will be a lot of respect between all the inhabitants. This is something that's really close to my heart, and I hope everyone will be equal. It is really important to me, and I hope that it will be for all the inhabitants too. It would be really great if the transport like buses could be free, available for everyone and self-sufficient because it's important for the population to move within the city without polluting. For example, to go to work quickly. I hope the inhabitants will be more respectful of the environment and the animals than they are right now because the earth is suffering and that's why we need to evolve. We must stop destroying everything we have. I imagine that Paris could be a really green and ecological city because if we don't change the future by improving or changing everything we have, life in 2050 may be very complicated. And I think that is already a little bit the case because you can see the picture I sent you. For me, it's an obligation to make the city evolve because soon the non-renewable resources will be exhausted, and even if it is something that we use permanently, we will be deprived of it. So we must be not wait the last minute to try to change the things.
Hello, today I present my city of the future. For me, the city of the future will be completely different from today in terms of pollution. First, the cars will work with an air recovery system that turns heat into fuel and then we release it in its natural form so as not to pollute our atmosphere. I would change the way cars works because I find what pollutes our atmosphere a lot. Then the houses will be white to give a cheerful air to the city because I find that today some cities are not cheerful. There will also be plenty of vegetation to breathe well even in the city. I want to put vegetation so people do not feel in the city, but in the countries. Because today the vegetation is missing a lot in the city. I think we need to add the elements to give a cheerful air in the city and for stopping a destruction of our planet.
In my opinion, future cities will be overcrowded, so they will get supersized towers owned by big companies, but some of them will serve to people so they can live in. Due to the overpopulation, the overcrowding, the traffic will be very intense, so people will drive on two different roads. One road will be on the ground and one road will be in the air for flying cars. The cities of the future became like that because the gap between the rich people and the poor people became bigger. In this future, states become very authoritarian due to the criminality who begins to be a big problem, so they've increased the police power. Also, with the overcrowding, people start to pile up, so they've organized the city like that. Poor people live at the below of the towers and rich people lives on the top. Also, in this future, peoples have chosen the technologic solution and seems to don't care about environmental problems and all the planet problems. Comparing it to the cities of today, cities of the future will be pretty much the same, but everything is supersized, like buildings which get higher, and for the space of the cities it will take more space. In these futures, everything is supersized except one thing, the green areas. Since the city became bigger and bigger, the green areas have become more rare and they shrink due to the urbanization and the pollution that all of that kills flowers and trees that have lived into the cities. The last thing is comparing to the cities of today, people's police have limited power, contrary to the cities of the future where police will have more and more power due to the criminality who get more important and which became a bigger problem.
My future city will have a lot of green space, will also have multiple mobility possibilities that will run on solar energy. The waste will be biodegradable and ecological for the planet. It will be a connected city but not manipulating society. From then on, camera will be installed throughout the city to promote the proper functioning of the city. And many applications and shortcuts will be created to facilitate the daily life of residents.
I think the city of the future will be a techno-city without many trees, plants or green parks. The permanent connectivity will create an ecological and cultural collapse. I think there will be misuse of camera and violation of privacy because we are always controlled. I think the city of the future will be like this because we are destroying the planet, and with the social media we're always on our smartphone. The humans become lazy and think the AI will save us.
For me, the cities of the future will be very different, with many green spaces and a big technology. In the future, the humans will pay more attention to the planet, which will create many green spaces. The technology will be more advanced, there will be more electrical cars and less oil. The big cities like Paris, which are many polluted today, will be much less so in the future, because the world will be aware of the pollution risk. Gradually, we will arrive in a world that will be more autonomous and economical, starting with much more use of public transport or more use of electrical cars. This will reduce pollution thanks to new technology. We will be able to do more than today and have to consume less petroleum. The cities of the future will become a smart city.
Today I'm going to talk about cities of the future, how cities will grow up and which type of future we will face. According to me, cities of the future will seem like the cities that we actually have. They might be a little bit more developed, but I don't think everything will change. The biggest changement will not be in our cities, but in the countryside. People want to live outside of big noisy cities like Paris. Maybe there will be more people living in countryside, and it's already happening because of coronavirus. Cities of the future will be more equal. There will be less village with people who are leaving it to go to civilization and big cities, and more people who are taking care about Earth. Now let's talk about changements. I think we will see a real difference between ecological cities and techno cities. A lot of cities will become very greenery and will take care of the environment. There will be less car or no more car. There will be a lot of big parks for people who can't live at countryside. Some people will think about the energy footprint before to do something. The biggest cities will be technological. Maybe it will be more organized, but the environment will suffer to this urbanization. There will be some planning transport, so there will be less traffic congestion, like in Amsterdam. People couldn't drive when they want, go outside with their car whenever they want. There will be some IA to tell us how to live cleaner than now. To conclude, I think changements in our cities have already started. We can see countries in development becoming technological, but Paris, for example, could be ecological only if the city finds a solution to stop traffic congestion and pollution.
I think that the cities of the future will be ecological, but there will still be a lot of technologies because humans beings cannot do without them, and I think the technology is useful for the human. The cities of the future will necessarily be ecological, otherwise we will not be able to survive. We will surely use renewable energy that will not pollute, and I think there will be a lot of trees, a lot of greenery, and things like that, because we need it. So I think my city of the future is a smart city. This is how I perceive the cities of the future.
A futuristic city. I admit that it makes me want a city of the future that respects in the environment, respects human rights, respects civility, and offers reliable, secure, and sustainable technology. I think this city will one day exist, but we will have to make serious efforts. Indeed, compared to our current cities, very polluting with their technology, an ideal smart city will require major efforts in terms of sustainability, management of resources, sharing of power in the country, but also the development of a technology which does not have adverse effect on the environment. To start, we should focus on natural spaces to keep a city that breathes and is responsible for filtering small pollution into new air thanks to plants. Agriculture should no longer consist of pesticides and chemical fertilizers. Farmers will use natural fertilizers through composting, and natural sunlight will be used to grow the plantations. In terms of traffic and public transport, they will run on solar panels. However, to prevent them from working in the event of bad weather, an energy reserve will be placed in the trains so that they can still operate in the absence of the sun. To avoid any oil and greenhouse gas pollution, citizens will be responsible for getting around town by bicycle and will only be allowed to take a bus or train in the event of a trip exceeding 20 kilometers. To ensure security in accordance with human rights, surveillance cameras will be scattered all over the city, only in places with high risk of crime, small alleys, banks, jewelry stores, etc. The rest of the city will be guarded by police officers, but without obstructing the residents of their presence. And finally, for dream life, technology will no longer be essential for humans because the environment will be treated well enough to be used in times of need, such as a blackout or simply a digital attack. This is my vision of the city of the future.
For my vision of the cities of future, the house will be built in gigantic trees. The streets will be illuminated by a lantern, and the displacement will be done to the talk and the climbing with rope bridges. And the means of transportation will be done at the foot of the trees with bicycle and boat. The actual cities are become too polluting, and the solution could be to build the structure of the cities on the natural structure like trees or cliff. It will be sustained cities while our actual cities are built on the ground, and then the actual means of transportation are hyper polluting.
In the future, the city will have big skyscrapers. It's a flying city that uses the solar panel to fly. The city fly to preserve the earth. In the future, they have robots that work for them. The population don't work. In a near future, city are going to stop using polluting resources. Cities stop using those resources for the protection of animals and the planet. On the flying city, resources will be limited, so the people will be poor, less and less to eat. Took the vegetation of Earth, create a new ecosystem. There is a dome to breathe. In Paris, there was a lot of pollution, but in the dome city, the pollution is rejected in space. The dome city is a good idea, but it would be too expensive.
According to me, actual cities aren't green and produce a lot of trash. they don't take care of the planet and things won't get better in the future, because economy is leading the world. In fact, in the future, there will be two populations. The first, in majority, will live with technology and not in respect of the earth. The second will live in peace with nature and reject technology. All are human, but they don't have the same way of thinking about how we should live. For the first group, technology is omnipresent. There are a lot of skyscrapers and flying cars. Life is easier and more pleasant than today. But economical issues aren't solved and cities produce more trash every year. So economical and technological war will increase and cities will be overcrowded. The second population lives in peace and respect nature. Cities don't use technology, so they are green. There is less pollution than in the technocity, and political system is based on sharing. But life is not easy, and people have to work anytime in the fields to produce food and heat their house. Another problem is pollution coming from technocities. Not like today, they don't have electricity, they don't have car or new mobile phone, but they have faced economical and ecological crises.
My future city, paradise. It may not be realistic enough, and it is surely unattainable, but whoever does not dream the impossible will not get the possible. I see it beautiful, full of greenery, a lot of flowers and colors. Vegetation would have recovered its place against today invading modernity. The fauna also would regain its freedom and would have found equality with humans. There will be as much respect between humans as between animals and vegetation. There will be less inequality than in today's society. We can see that the triumphal arch is invaded by nature is that a Leo reigns over it, which shows that the fauna is regaining its place and respected by humans. This city could exist if everyone took the trouble to create it. We need this green city if we want to continue to live. The earth needs it, like a paradise on earth. And you, if you like it, what are you going to do get there?
I would like to talk about London as imagine it to be in the future long enough for it to seem inconceivable. This futuristic London is an independent society that has its own government, like the city-states of ancient Greece. This is due to the collapse of European government after a terribly devastating world war. But this war was different from all the previous ones, not because the weapons are technologically superior or more destructive, but because they are technology development companies which confronted for control of the planet's last resources. Only Europe, too weak to intervene in the conflict, didn't see its cities destroyed by nuclear warheads. But the sudden lack of vital resources, food, electricity, oil and gas, led to revolt and then chaos within the states of the European alliance, which has sunk into anarchy. The Kingdom of England has allied with the victorious companies of the war and benefited from the resources and the latest technologies. But of course, inequality about technology has widened the gap between rich people and poor people. This resulted in the removal of the monarchy and the separation of the kingdom into a governmental entity organized around the important cities of the island, such as London, overseen by the leaders of the powerful companies that now rule the world. Future London is separated by the Thames into two very opposite shores. The right bank is built on model dependent of new technical, digital and genetic technologies. Life is easier and commerce prosper. Individuals are genetically modified before birth, so their role in society is predetermined. In return, they lead a life of destruction and leisure.
The inhabitants of this tour are assisted by many artificial intelligences that facilitate their life. The architecture is white, smooth, and round, perfect as qualification. The streets are cleaner than our streets today. Sexual morals are more casual, and in general this society is based on pleasure and leisure. You have to make them happy to lead them better. The left bank is completely different. Its inhabitants live in fear and submission. Their technology is as advanced as ours, or is inferior. Their food is industrialized and often reduced to powder of soup. The buildings are high, square, and crowded to the point that their shadows plunge the streets into an eternal night. They are made of black concrete, of dirt, and are dilapidated. Their days are filled with hard and long work, which does not make them any money. Housing and food are provided by society in exchange for work. The city is more polluted than today. Here the air is unbreathable. The traffic of dubious technologies from the right bank is thriving, and the police are plagued by corruption. Dominate to better control.
My city of the future would be a green city. She would be works only with the green energy. The most important source of green energy would be provided by windmill and photovoltaic panels. The rainwater would be salvaguarded and reserved in order to water the green space of city. In order to eat local and organic, the city would put in place collective vegetable garden. There would be any place for the car in the city. Their car should stay outside of the city. In the city, would should use only the bike or public transport if you want to move away in the city, but example to go to work, to shoppings, to go to doctor. In this green city, there would be a lot of green plants in front of the buildings. A lot of different bins would have been installed in the street. Each bin wall but using a specific type of waste. You should find also some compost bin at the crossroad of each street, with the help of all the plant and tree. The pollution would decrease. There would be less noise than an actual city. Less noise, less traffic congestion, so the people would be less stressed. The people could live in good condition and would be in good health. The less stressed they would be, the less heart attack others would be have.
In my futuristic city, there will be electric cars. Petrol cars will be banned. There will be a check at every entrance to the city. In my city, there will be few factories because it's too polluting. The buildings will benefit from vegetable panels watered with rainwater harvested from the roof of the buildings. There will be many pedestrian streets and parks with vegetation and few artificial infrastructures like roads, etc. The lighting will be LED and will go out at midnight, and it will turn
on at 6 a.m. to minimize visual and light pollution. It will be possible to have hydrogen cars. The fuel of this one is water. Public transport will be promoted. There will be more places planned for buses and trams. Those will be electric too. There will be store showrooms that will change every 3 months to avoid more buildings in quantity. The things will take time to make room for others. In my city, the waste collection will be via underground galleries that lead to the recycling center, so there will be no garbage trucks.
Hello, today we are the 9 April 2057 and tomorrow it's my birthday. I'm Leo and I live in Toronto. Yesterday I see some old picture alone because I found an old box in attic of the family house. On this picture I'm the baby in the arm of my mom's, and this photo has been taken in a park in England in 2050, before the world collapsed. I'm gonna explain to you what is the world collapse. In 2020, the border between all countries in the world have been closed. Actually, in 2057, the borders are still closed, and many countries die. Whole civilization disappeared because their country lived on the world trade. Tomorrow I have to pass a test for joining the other side in the new civilization. The new civilization is in New York. It is a city where people live like before, with no changing, and that's why I want to go over there, because I want to live like the child I was in 2015. Before, to eat, we just go to Walmart, buy the food of your choice, and go back to home to cook it. Now, to eat, we have to hunt by yourself. I just want to see beautiful scenery, not this polluted, grey and without life place. I actually live in a old supermarket in an abandoned city beside Toronto. I remember when I was a kid, I go to school with my friend, I talk to people, I have human interaction. Today, I talk to a old phone for my logbook, and the last human I saw is my brother. When he went to the boat for joining the Europe, he said it was a safe place.